Welcome back to the channel. I'm Merle Mayer, and I don't know if you've driven a hot rod or an older vehicle. Well, some of the seats aren't that comfortable, and I'm not sure if you've driven a Corvette, but they have some pretty nice seats. This seat behind me has seat heaters. It has lumbar support. It is completely power. It has bolsters on the side, and it is very adjustable, very nice. But getting that in your hot rod isn't like just putting it in there and hooking up two wires. So what I'm going to do in this video is go over how we can make this seat function in your hot rod. If you take a look at the bottom of this seat, well, it's kind of overwhelming looking if you look at this plug and this here. Wow. And then if you look at the motors here, you can see the motors that drive this thing around. Then this is an air pump that pumps air into the bolsters. Then we have a control module here, a control module here. There's seat heaters in there. There's sensors in there. Oh boy. And oh, there's switches here, as well as, oh, look at this. We have airbag stuff in here. Well, not that big a deal. The first thing that you want to deal with is the airbag stuff. So this is a seatbelt pretensioner. It has a sensor in it for when the seatbelts are connected or not. Well, this car is way before any of that kind of stuff was needed, so we ain't going to worry about it. As well, we have an airbag in the side of this here, and we're going to take care of that. If you're worried about that, if you look inside this connector, it actually has a bar that goes across the two prongs in here, and what that is to do is to prevent if I have static electricity in my body from setting off the explosives. And if you look at this one here, you can tell this came out of a car that was in an accident because this pretensioner has actually been shortened. So this was actually gone off. The airbag, it doesn't look like has, because the seat is still in one piece. But this should normally be longer. So what happened in the accident is this guy got pulled into his seat, however it was hit. So these little grounding bars, you don't have to worry too much about that setting it off because it has those. Don't cut the wires, otherwise you're going to lose that. So I'm going to roll this seat up and we'll take care of that back airbag. And this one here, this nut, well, it's a 21 mil and it just spins off, but the nut stays captive in here. So when you're looking in the back of the seat, if you look at this, it's actually a zipper, but it's not an unending zipper. If you reach up into the back here, we actually have a normal zipper. So what I'm going to do is set up the camera on a stand and unzip this. Okay, so this is the airbag bomb that is in the seat, and I'm not going to make any suggestions on how you dispose of this, but I would say that you should dispose of this according to your local laws. I'm going to hang on to this just long enough to be able to make, I'm going to take some 10 gauge and shape it like this and put it in there. Not a big deal. But for now, I'm just going to zip this back up because I'm not worried about that right now. I need to get this seat figured out and mounted, and we'll modify the rest later. Kind of put it back together so it looks pretty. And there we have it. So as you can see, I have been breaking down what actually is happening in these seats. Now, these are early C6 seats, and I looked at a bunch of different wiring diagrams, stuff online, stuff from manuals, and there are differences in years. Now, me looking at this, I think most of the C6, you can probably ignore some of the stuff. And what I'll do is I'm going to bring the camera up. We'll take a look at the bottom of the seats. I'll go through every component. And then we're going to break down each part of the wiring in these seats so that you would know how to hook them up. This is under the bottom of the driver's seat. It's a little different than the passenger seat. I'm just going to go over the components. So we have these drive motors that affect all the positioning of it. And then we have in the back here, this module. And this module has to do with the power seat memory stuff as well. So it actually can talk to the BCM. And what it does is it looks at these right here. Now, these are sensors to tell what position the seats are in. They use these for airbags and memory and so on. Anyway, as the seat moves back and forth, this either blocks or opens this up. And this is the same on the passenger side. Then we have this bag in here, and this is actually the air pump. Okay. And then this module is actually normally tied into the back of the seat. And what this module is it is the seat heater module. So there's a reason there's a module in it, and I'll get to that in a second. But what I was planning on doing, because this has a module, is actually putting in aftermarket seat heaters. Well, ran into a bit of a problem with that because they make kits and stuff for these seats, but I talked to manufacturers and no one makes a kit that has the splits. So these seats have those nice pleat lines in them, whatever you want to call them, and they Velcro into the bottom of these. And these are the heating pads. No one makes a heating pad with splits to put them in. So I called manufacturers. None of them would take the time to measure the resistance of the aftermarket seat heat pad. And so, because what I thought I could do is just take and find a seat heater pad, top and bottom, that would be the same resistance, but no one really wanted to take that time. What I heard repeatedly was, oh, we just get these out of China. We don't even know what the resistance is. So, a lot of the aftermarket seat heaters, I mean, the guys that are selling them, all they're doing is buying and selling stuff. I guess it's a good business if you don't have to touch anything. So when I get around to the actual bottom of the seats, the passenger side, you can see that's still in there. We have another module here. I haven't actually looked into what this one is yet because I'm focusing on the driver's seat. Seat motors, this has this hall switch as well. Like a sensor to see where the seat position is. So back to the seat heat module. So this module, it connects to the car, and we'll leave it as that. So the module's in the car, and these cars have a battery saver option in them. So if you're sitting there and your seat heaters are on and the car is idling and your battery voltage isn't high enough, depending on the voltage, it sends a signal to this. And there's 3 different signals. There is a 0 signal, which means that it operates normally. There is a 1 signal, that means that this will operate the seats normally, 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off. So duty cycle it. And then there is another, that is the number, they call it 0, 1, and then 2. The 2 signal that goes to this says no seat heaters because your battery voltage is too low. So this thing talks to the ECU, and I don't know if the 0 means it says nothing, but that's what I assumed, and I think I'm correct. So what I did is I'm putting in this console for the seat heaters. Now, I'm not sure if these are resistive multiplex switches or not, or if they're latching switches. But what I've done is I have figured out all the wiring, which I'm going to share with you for this seat heater. And I took the time to wire this all up according to the wiring that I figured out. And I can turn it on to low. And I can turn it on to high, and it goes low to high and off. So you can hear this clicking in here. It's almost like there might be a relay in there clicking. No, it's actually not in here. The relay is in this module. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the heat gun and we're going to take a look at what happens with the seat. Okay. We're about, 73 plus a little on the seat there, and 71.8. So we'll turn this on, and I'm going to just go to high with this. I think that's the high position. And we'll just look at what happens here. Looks like nothing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this on for a little while and start figuring out the other seat, and then we'll get back at it. Okay, all I did is walk around to the other side and turn the switch to the high position. I think the high, I don't know, I should go look in my car. And we definitely have heat climbing compared to what it was. So you can see as you go through the seat, we're definitely getting warmer. So I'm going to leave this for a little while and see if it kicks out. All right, I have had this on roughly 10 minutes now, and it kind of goes up and down on the top part. It gets colder to the middle to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It actually hasn't hit 100. I'm not sure. I thought it might here. But it goes from, ooh, look at that. It goes from 99.21, something like that, now to 100. And it looks like it's still going to keep climbing. And up here, yeah, so this actually was a little bit warmer. Yeah, so it was at 88 at one point, and definitely gets cooler as to the bottom. Same with this here. As you get closer to the bottom in the seat here, it gets cooler. So hotter further away. But I'm pretty confident that that zero marking is exactly what I was thinking, is that this thing getting a zero means it's not getting commanded to save the car's battery. So I will figure out the power side, and then we'll jump to the passenger seat, make sure everything's working in it. Okay, I have it all wired up for the wiring for all of the power seat options, lumbar bolsters, everything. And that's what this runs. This air pump here is the lumbar and bolsters. And then this module, all the power goes through it for the seat. And so I have to leave that module in, but that talks to all the memory modules, the BCM, whatever, in the rest of the vehicle. And it doesn't much matter because every part of this is working. So I'll share the wiring. I got to get the passenger side figured out. So this is the passenger side. I turned it on. It's been about 3 minutes, and depends on where exactly you shoot, but I'm right on the coils here, and it's getting hot faster than the other side, but I'm not going through cushion and leather and so on. And up here as well, it's heated up from original, so the passenger seat heater is working as well. So on the passenger side now, the power seat. I don't know if you can hear that, but the lumbar and the bolsters are all working. And just out of curiosity and interest sake, that's what that stuff looks like. So big airbag in here. It is not what you would think. Where is it here? Right here, there is a sensor in the bottom of the passenger seat, and it actually has a pressure sensor on it, like a map sensor you would see. And this module here on the passenger seat is actually for the airbag sensors. So I'll be pulling out this stuff out of the seat because we do not need it, and I'll be stripping any of the wiring that we don't need in here. So quite a bit of wiring is going to go away. Yeah, let's take a look at the actual wiring. So starting on the switch, first what I'm going to do is take all the power off of this. Okay, first of all, I am going to be using the factory switches out of this. I know that people might have bought some seats without these switches, so I haven't dug in because what I believed when I got these seats is this was resistive multiplex switches, which I'm not going to get into, but well, I guess I will. So when you push a button, it gives one resistance. You push a button again, it gives a different resistance, and it does different things. I don't know. These could be just latching switches, but I'll let you guys figure that one out. So on the back of this, we have a bunch of wires, and they're labeled. And this passenger side stuff, all of it, but 2 wires in here go actually to the wiring in the seat. The 2 wires that don't go in are, we have a ground, and then there is a gray and black tracer, and that's the same on this side. And that gray and black tracer goes to the lighting, so when you turn your headlights on, this gets illuminated, and the ground, of course, is the ground. So both switches, same way, they go to each seat and to the actual wiring. So let's go to the wiring. So this is the passenger seat wiring. I have it labeled B1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then on this side, well, it's really hard to see because the label is hidden in behind the latch. And it starts A1 over here, just like on the other side here. This is B1. So it's starting from this side, moving over. And so this is the passenger seat one. And what I'll do is I'll go over to the wiring on the passenger seat one. So hopefully this will help. So the passenger seat, if you weren't going to do the heated seat stuff, 3 wires. That runs this passenger seat. So you need power all the time in 2 spots and a ground. And this seat functions totally. It's going to function with key off, but that is what it is. I suppose you could, well, I don't know, and I'm not going to worry about it, but maybe you could do something, a relay to run that or whatever, but doesn't matter here nor there. So then we go to the driver's side, and same thing, same plug. B starts here, goes this way. On the other side here, A starts one, goes this way. So they both start at the same side, go, and the labels are underneath there. And for the driver's seat main plug, this one's a little more complex, but hopefully this will help sort things out with the wiring, because a bunch of these wires, you see they're NA, those are garbage. I'm not using them, never hooked them up, never needed to. And these seats are functioning great. Now, I guess what I'd like to do is just take some rough measurements for you to see. Now, I changed the mounts on it, so that's going to change, but maybe what I'll do is go from this rail to the top. The only thing is this rail, I mean, there is a ton of height adjustment on this, so I'll give you some rough measurements if you're trying to figure out what seats might fit in your hot rod. in a slightly laid back position from the rail, the raw rail itself, where the height is right now, which, I mean, there's a lot of adjustment in the seat. There's a little bit of gap here. This was 37.5 to the top of the seat. And then the bolsters, of course, they move a little bit. But if we're looking for a rough measurement here, our bolsters, you know, we would need 20 inches for the top and bottom, 20 inches. And from the back of the seat to the front of the seat here, man, we're close to 23 inches from here, not including the rails, so you'd need a little extra room there. Anyway, there are some rough measurements. I'm really happy these seats are going to work out, like really happy, because we don't need any BCM or any other modules to run these, so that's pretty cool. My plan now is I'm going to get rid of these plugs and I'll put on some nice plugs. I'm going to separate the heated side from the power seat plugs. They're different gauge, and then I am going to get rid of all of the extra wiring that we don't need in these seats, except for stuff that's hard to get at, because it doesn't really matter. Like these sensors sitting in here, who cares? But any of the extra garbage that's hanging around, I'm just going to take and heat shrink the ends of it, cut them off, and I'm going to get them mounted in the car, which is another big project. These seats are going into the Montevet, which, I mean, there's a ton of work to be done on it. Pretty excited. Hopefully you check those videos out. And if you don't mind, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any other questions, drop in the comments. I'll try to answer whatever I can. Thanks.